Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Monday to you. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, happy Monday.
Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I enjoyed myself this past weekend. Um, Went to church, heard a great sermon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Got a word that I really needed to hear.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing. Weather wasn't too bad. I actually got out. Felicia and I actually went out for a few minutes before it started to get too cold in the evening. Just went out for a quick ride.
Yeah.
Like we were still dating back in the day.
Well, hey, that's good.
Yeah,
Good.
that's good. That's
That's
good.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it just made me really feel like I'm ready for the fall. I mean, not for the fall, for
Spring.
spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I miss not seeing any snow.
I necessarily for me, I just think it didn't get cold enough. I needed to get cold and stay cold, kill these bugs and stuff. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things that really concern me when it don't get real cold. I think we had maybe 2 days where it was really cold and
Yeah.
kept hearing snow. I look out, I saw the ground wasn't even wet with that snow. It didn't even,
Mm-mm.
so it's like, but hey, change is inevitable, I guess. You gotta,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I don't know. I like to have at least one good snowstorm.
I
But you're
would
right.
not
It's
have
been
mind.
it's been really mild this year.
Yeah, I would not have minded a blizzard, I have to say.
I don't need a blizzard, but
I would not have minded. I would have been all right with it.
a foot or so, I'd be happy with.
Yeah,
Something to hang around for a couple of days and then move on out. I'd
yeah.
be good because that means if it's a blizzard, I'm out there for a long time shoveling.
Oh
You
no,
know.
you gotta hire somebody to do that. You can't.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I do have a snow blower, but I didn't. I mean, it didn't even snow last year enough for me to pull out the snow blower.
I know. I bought one. I bought one this year. My first snowblower, and
Oh,
I bought
okay.
it this year, and it's still in the box in the garage.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I didn't even use mine last year. I'm trying to
yeah,
think if I used it the year before.
and he pull
Um,
out the instructions to even see like, okay, what I need to do.
well, it definitely comes in handy.
Oh yeah,
All right.
I'm
Well,
like, huh.
one of those things. Well, one, uh, I didn't ask you. One thing I did this weekend. Felicia treated myself and my daughter to Creed 3.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
had you seen it? Had you seen the other ones? Are you planning on going to see it?
I'm seeing too with those. There's some movies I wait until it comes out on video. You
Okay.
know? Yeah, so I'll watch it when it comes out. But
Okay.
but no, I didn't. I haven't seen it. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was good. I had a small issue with it. I won't say anything,
Okay.
because I know people are still gonna probably go see it over this next week, next weekend.
Yeah.
I only had one issue, and I really wouldn't necessarily call it an issue, but um, for me, it was a whole. But it was still entertaining, still pretty good.
Okay.
Um, you might be right in waiting until it comes out on video.
Yeah.
If you're not a big fan, you might be right in doing that.
Yeah. Boxing movies, just
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm seeing some people starting to come on as we get in to get in. And hey, y'all, say something in the chat. Let us know that you're out there. You
Yeah.
know, join the conversation. Let us know that you're listening and give some input along the way. The other thing that I did, which was on Sunday night, was watch Chris Rock's
Oh,
live
sad. Yeah.
special.
hmm
And I got on early. Did you watch the pre-show?
I got on late, so I watched the pre-show afterward. But yes, I saw it. Yeah,
Okay.
I saw
Yeah.
it.
So I watched the pre-show, and
hmm
then I watched the actual
hmm
stand-up. And for one, I appreciate us living in Baltimore, in the Baltimore area. I appreciate something being done that wasn't negative, like highlighting the Hippodrome, historic
Oh,
Hippodrome.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, I just truly appreciate that there was something positive, if you can say
hmm
that is positive. I just appreciate that um, we were showcased in that way. You know,
Okay.
even though during his set he talked about um,
Yeah,
Cherry Hill
yeah, yeah.
things like that. But
Not going some
um,
places and yeah.
yeah, so. I guess we still had to get something out there that lets everybody know we got them bad spots. But every city got
Yes, everywhere.
everybody got
Yeah.
that. Hey, mom, glad you was able to get on. Anybody else out there, let us know. Um, so, what was your thoughts about his routine?
Well, I guess I don't know how people going to receive it, but I didn't think it was particularly funny. I
Okay.
chuckled maybe a couple times, but I've definitely heard him be funnier.
Hmm.
So it got kind of, uh, especially to the beginning toward the middle, I was like, okay, I just might turn this off,
Hmm.
and but he got better. Um, I just didn't think it was that funny. I thought, I mean, he spoke his piece with, the whole reason I guess people listened was to hear what he had to say about Will and the slap and
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
And I mean, my thoughts on that, I just started thinking several things. Like, I just started thinking about toxic relationships. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm not really in a position to judge Will and Jada's relationship, but it just looks bad from this side. It just looks
yeah.
like just. Um,
It's always look kind of curious.
yeah, and I just, I just, I pray for them that they're okay. Because if he or she wasn't okay with that, then they definitely weren't gonna be okay with what just happened
Yeah, yeah,
Saturday night.
yeah.
So it was just like, um, but you know, yeah. As far as like funny wise,
Well, I'm kind of like you. He's never been one of my favorites, and it's the same last night. And pretty much what I expected. Moments of laugh out loud, moments of smiles, but not consistently all the way through. You
yeah,
know what I mean? He has his moments where he'll get a laugh out loud from me, or like a big smile and things like that. Uh, but I think back comparing it to and yes, I am saved, y'all, but
mm-hmm.
comparing it to like Eddie Murphy when he did
Raw,
his, and
exactly,
you know what I
exactly.
mean, it's like you just like
Yeah, you
laughed
just
all the way
yes,
through,
yes,
you know
yes,
what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
Or
Just
like even
the
with
way.
Kevin Hart,
Mm-hmm,
some of his specials he's kind of fallen
mm-hmm.
off in my opinion, but some of his specials you just kind of laugh all the way through.
Yeah. Mm.
Or Steve Harvey, another one, you just
I've never seen Steve. I've heard.
what
I think somebody else tell me that Steve Harvey was really funny,
Steve
and I.
Harvey is hilarious or
Okay,
was
all right.
hilarious.
I gotta catch up.
Yeah.
One thing that the pandemic allowed me to do was to binge watch a whole lot of stuff. So that's
Hmm.
another reason why I wouldn't mind a blizzard. I need to catch up on some stuff.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like to watch comedians. I gotta be in the right mindset, especially there are some to do a lot of cursing.
Yeah,
Uh, sometimes I just can't do a whole lot of cursing.
I'm with you. And then
Um,
you know what? That's how Chris, like toward the middle, I was about ready to turn it off. I about had
hmm.
enough
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
it. It was just like somebody where it's just cursing and not funny. It was
yeah,
just
yeah,
I
yeah,
was just hearing curse words, and I said maybe I'm just not in the mood, to hear
yeah,
this. So I just wasn't. Um, I don't know. Yeah, that's just me. I said maybe,
yeah,
yeah, I just wasn't feeling it too much.
yeah. And don't get me. I mean, I respect the man. I respect
Yeah,
all he's done. He's had a great career and things like
yeah.
that. He's
I
just
didn't
not
think it
one of
was
my top
terrible.
five.
I didn't think
Yeah,
it was terrible or whatever. I just didn't think it was that funny.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't think it was. I mean, I wouldn't say it was bad or like a bad performance or
Right.
anything like that. But just didn't make. You know what? And it just brings to mind was somebody I had not heard of, and so I'm probably gonna mess her name up. I think it was like Saronda or something or another.
Oh, that
And
was
it
on the
was
panel.
no. It was that she had a stand up on Netflix, and the only reason I saw it was because I was going to Netflix to put the reminder in for Chris Rock,
Oh,
and I
okay.
saw this one pop up, and so I watched it, and that was she had me laugh a couple times.
Okay.
She
Okay.
I laughed more at her than I laughed at Chris. But
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know.
so
I enjoy a good show. I don't know
yeah,
if you've ever heard or if you've ever watched Dry Bar Comedy.
no,
Dry Bar Comedy is basically I think they're out of Utah and they just have it's no cussing, no
okay,
drinking, none of
okay,
that. So it's like, good family type.
Okay.
humor, and every now and then they'll get like someone on it that's like really really funny.
If you
Sometimes
can
they
be
got some corny people,
Yeah, if
but
you can be funny without all the cussing and stuff,
yeah,
because you know what, Sinbad, and pray for him
Sinbad, yeah,
because he
yeah.
had this. But Sinbad, and the only time I saw Sinbad live was on the cruise ship. Sinbad had us dying. Okay,
Hmm, hmm.
we were, and I was only supposed to be able to see one set because they had like an early and a late. I got in there to both of them. Okay, and he didn't even really do the same thing. Sinbad was
He's
hilarious.
just
I had
naturally
no
funny.
idea Sinbad was that funny.
Yeah, he's naturally
And
funny.
Sinbad ain't say one curse word,
Yeah, yeah, that's how
not
it is.
one.
Yeah.
Not one. I had no idea Sinbad was that funny. He had us. They had to run Sinbad off the stage because it was like the next set. You know, he was only supposed to do like 45 minutes or an hour.
Hmm.
Sinbad was 2 hours in. It was
Wow.
like if they don't come Sinbad me, I ain't. You know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep
yeah.
doing it. He
He's
just I don't
enjoying
know where
himself.
all the funny came from, but that was the funniest,
He
funniest
enjoyed
show.
himself. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Well, I mean, I tuned into Chris Rock for like most people did. They wanted to hear what he had to say about the slap,
Yeah.
and he put it at the end. You know, um, and I mean, I loved his last line about it. Don't fight in front of white people. There's some things that he said that was definitely cultural, like the whole thing about when babies are born, you look behind the ear to see how dark they're going to get. I had forgotten all about that, but I remember
Yeah.
hearing that as a child and
Mhm.
seeing that being done. But I remember also hearing, don't fight in front of white people.
I've
you know,
I've never heard that.
I
Yeah.
did because it makes us look bad. It makes us look like we don't know how to act.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I connected with that as well. But I got what he was saying about the selective outrage
Oh
and
yeah.
what he was saying about everybody had already been dragging Will through the mud
Mm.
and about other stuff like the whole red table issues and
Hmm.
being interviewed about with his wife about her sleeping with someone else and all that and him being called all these names and things like that. And really, on reflection, I just thought maybe, you know, and I had this discussion with Felicia when Chris Rock said something, he Will initially laughed, but then
Exactly.
but then
Exactly.
I think when he saw the pain on his
Uh,
wife's face,
I don't think that was pain. I think
no,
she was another P word. Okay. I don't think it was pain.
okay,
She was mad. Yeah.
okay. Well,
So
I think
yeah.
he felt like he had to react, and I think
And that's
really,
unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
yeah, yeah,
That's really important. To me, there's a time and a place. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Even if he felt he needed to do something, that was not the time. That was not the place. That was not how to handle
No,
that.
that's not, and that's what I was saying. I was like, I
That
understand
was bad.
you see something's going on with your wife, you want to stand up and defend her. But I really don't. I'm not really sure if he was really defending her or if he felt like he had to defend his manhood. You know what
I
I
think
mean?
it was more the second.
I
Seriously,
think
I
he
think
had,
there's something going on. The way that whole thing went down, it is really clearly something going on with him too, where he just didn't feel. Um,
and now again, I think it's because his name had been dragged through the mud for so long
I
about
don't know.
other
See, I
stuff.
didn't know. I don't watch them like that, so I didn't even know all that had went on. You know what I mean? I didn't
Hmm,
learn about
hmm.
that until afterward. I didn't know all the stuff like with Jada and the rumors because I guess I was just too far off the, you
Yeah,
know, like.
yeah.
But
Well, I heard enough about it, but
I had no. So yeah, that's just sick. That's why I just said the more you hear, you just like it just seemed like that relationship is just
it's a different kind of relationship, that's for
yeah,
sure.
it
So
just
you know what? Y'all put something in if y'all agree, disagree. Give us some feedback. Let us know. Um,
yeah,
but I really do think it's been a year, almost a year, because
yeah.
the new Grammys, not the Grammys. What is it? The
Oscars,
Oscars.
yeah.
Um, I think it's next week or the week after next.
I know it's coming up. Is it Trevor? Who's supposed to host? I think
No,
it's Trevor.
Trevor did the Grammys. Trevor
Okay.
Noah did Grammys. I'm not sure who's doing it this year.
Is
I
it
don't pay a lot of
Marlon?
attention.
Somebody I heard something. Yeah, I forgot, but I did hear that it's coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that it's coming.
So I figured Will's gonna have to deal with it until after that show. You know what I mean? And then maybe we'll all be done with it and be finished with it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't need to hear no more.
it'd be interesting if to know if he watched it or if Jada watched it. But I
Yeah.
doubt there would be any type of comments. I'm sure they just want to bury it at this point.
I don't know. She just seemed to be another little. I think she got a little Baltimore. Uh,
Mm,
you know,
drama.
I don't know.
She like a little drama.
I hope so. Yeah, but I hope it's done. But I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was watchable, but like you said, not laugh out loud. And it was something else I was saying. I watch what's his name? Can't even think of his name now, so I won't even say it. Dude from Washington. I can't think of his name.
Cat Williams.
No, I never liked Cat. He's always done too much cursing for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sat through one of his specials.
I
Um,
don't know.
I can't think of his name. His name left me that quick. But he toured with Chris Rock for a little bit this past year. Um,
Okay.
but he can be really political. He can be funny, but when he's not being funny, he makes you think about some things political
Yeah.
and what's going on in this country.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually thought about even with Chris's title, selective outrage. It actually made me think about politics and how some of them are. You know what? And I know but for example, you know what popped in my mind? This whole George Santos congressman
hmm
thing,
hmm hmm
and how and I started thinking about how was that senator from Minnesota, the Al Franken.
hmm
Oh, they were so, oh gosh, that he just got to get out of here, and all, it was just like all on the back. And then, but you got radio silence with this.
hmm
And I
hmm
started thinking about like, why did they even seat him? Well, I think probably because he, the vote was so close for Speaker of the House. It's like they just used him for that, and then they, now they're gonna deal with it. Who knows? I don't know. But just like how in politics, like, oh, you're supposed to be so, what Al Franken did was so terrible, but you ain't got a problem with grabbing by the poo
Yeah,
tag.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? But
hmm
what he did was so, but this dude got 27, 26 women that then accused him, plus the porn star, this, that, and the other. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Where's
yeah,
your
yeah,
outrage at all if you so yeah, I thought about kind of stuff like that when it comes
yeah.
to
You
like
can't help but think about it. And I'm not sure if it was
yeah.
Chris that said it or not, but um, it might have been him. I've been listening so much of late, but the whole thing about the attack on January 6th, you
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah,
and it's
where was
like,
the outrage? Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, they
where
were
was
so
the
mad. Some
outrage?
yeah.
Where was Blue Lives Matter then?
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
So
yeah,
it's
they were so mad over the summertime when we got to protect the federal buildings, and the sent the National Guard to protect the federal buildings, but you wasn't worried about protecting the building, the
hmm
Capitol building. You know what I mean? Where
right.
was all the yeah? So sorry, I didn't mean to talk about that long.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's the truth. And when you're looking at like I still don't understand like the George Santos issue. He's been caught time and time again. And thank you, my queen. She told me Dave Chappelle. She knew exactly what I was trying to think
Okay.
of.
Yeah.
Dave
Oh,
Chappelle. Um, but yeah, it's like he's been caught in multiple lies, and yet he's still holding his seat.
that's what I'm saying.
I don't
You
I
know,
don't I don't I don't get it.
yeah,
I don't get it.
why is he still there? Why is he still there? So
Where's
and
the outrage with that? And it's like we as a country, and again, I don't like to use his name much, but we knew that Trump was a liar.
hmm
We knew that he was hiding things.
hmm
I don't think, well, I think they did finally show some of his taxes, um, but wasn't really about the years that were in question. But it's like he just was not honest. And it's like, it's become a thing of it's more so about my team winning,
hmm
not about having the right people. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like I just don't want your team to win. I just don't want your people to win.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't care who I put in there. I just don't want yours to win.
And
And that's crazy to me.
the only reason people started moving away from him was because they started losing.
Yep.
this past
He no
election.
longer is the winner.
That's right. All the people they started talking about, oh, all the people that he endorsed lost. So, oh, now now
Hmm.
he needs to go, and so it's like, wait a minute, what? I thought y'all was supposed to be so morally, morally moral,
Hmm.
and the keepers of morality around here and all kinds of stuff. You weren't worried about all the lies and all the women and all the adultery and all the, the porn stars and all the, stuff that came out of his mouth and that he didn't go to church and all kinds of, you wasn't worried about all that.
Yep.
You
Yep.
wasn't worried about all that.
And now they're hitching their wagon to Ron DeSantos or DeSantis down in Florida.
Mm, that's
And
because they think he can win. That's all. And
yeah,
with all
I don't know
those,
what it is about people coming out of Florida, but they just seem to be a little off to me. And they seem to be just a little bit racist. Just a little bit. But
with oh my goodness. Okay. Um, yeah, and to I think that kind of goes into our next topic as far as with some of the things and all with yeah, and in the suppression part and how you gonna okay, so you going after was it Disney because they won't um uh, like ban what is they
yeah,
say they wouldn't ban um, gay, was it gay or was it something else they wouldn't ban?
yeah.
You know what
It-
I mean? And all this don't say gay stuff and it all, just to give them something so they can, oh yeah, we sold,
yeah, yeah,
more. But
yeah.
oh, okay, so you got a problem with this. You got such a problem with this. Oh, this is such a sin. But oh, so grabbing by the Putin guy and then sinner, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
So
right, right.
you're not all right with this, but you're okay with that. They so
Yeah.
fun.
Selective.
Yeah, they so
Selective. Yeah, well, for me with him, the big issue, and I heard that he's trying to push some legislation. I'm gonna try to spend a little bit more time over the next couple of months to see all his positions. But I know one of the positions is the critical race theory thing,
mm,
where he doesn't want it taught at all,
oh
and
yeah.
it's like that's the kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
it's
It's gonna
like
make people feel bad.
they
Yeah.
don't want our history. Um, and I just happened to hear a preacher yesterday, I think it was. Um, he was saying, you know what, Black history is American history. You can't talk about America without talking about how we played a role in it. You know, you can't talk about how this country grew without acknowledging on how or whose
Slavery,
back
or
it
without
grew
acknowledging
on.
slavery and the oppression and
Yeah, you
Jim
can't do
Crow
it.
and all that, but they don't want to talk about that. You know what I mean? It makes people feel bad. They look at it as feeling bad versus a learning experience so that you don't repeat the same
Right.
mistakes.
And
You
and
know,
and again, and there was I know it was a preacher from the state. It was a preacher from Howard University, and he was saying, you know what, he has white students in class
mm-hmm.
as he's teaching it, and it's not that they're getting mad at him; they're mad at their parents and grandparents for not telling them the truth.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not like it's really about that generation feeling
yeah.
bad and trying to act like it ain't happened. It's not about the future generations.
No.
They want to know.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know the real history. They want to know the real deal. And
And
they upset with the parents and grandparents for like hiding them
yeah,
from these things.
and
And you even mentioned before, I think it was last week, where you had a friend, he said from
oh yeah,
Oklahoma, he's like, they ain't told me nothing about this.
yeah.
And I'm in the state.
And he said they made them take an Oklahoma history class. There was a class called Oklahoma history, and they did completely buried.
It's crazy. It's
You see what I'm
crazy.
saying? Complete. So how you didn't even mention it? Didn't even mention it, so you can go look it up on your own. Just to oh no, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not
Yeah.
gonna talk about that. And that's really interesting. It's some stuff that hey is not I'm not comfortable with. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but you got to have some perspective that if people don't understand um, where some people it helps people to understand where people are coming from. It helps people understand when it comes to like women's rights and why this stuff is important when you understand the oppression that took place in the past. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it helps you to understand, black people and why how they stay so poor when you understand that, oh, there were laws on the books that said you can't go to school with you can't go to school over here. You
Right.
got to
Right.
stay over here on this side of the tracks, and you got to
Right.
this. It puts perspective. It adds perspective to some of the things that they're hearing now, like about voting rights and why it's important to put that civil, the civil to reenact that civil rights bill. I never understood why did that even expire? Like the Civil Rights Act of 1965.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it permanent? Why did it?
That's always. I'm like, why is that so even
Why?
an
Why is
issue?
it?
Why do we even have to keep voting for it?
Yeah, it was even like like when George Bush was in office, and when they did that 10-year gun ban, assault rifle. Why just 10 years? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I think, unfortunately, I think the only way we will get that again is if a Republican does it. But a Republican who says something about banning guns ain't gonna get the nomination.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
After he gets it, the only way I think we'll be able to do it, or unless you get some kind of super majority in
Yeah.
Congress, the way it is now, I don't know. You're
And we are ways from that.
Yeah, I don't know if
We
we'll ever
got some
get a super
time
majority.
before
You
that
know?
starts to happen.
Yeah.
But you're
It's,
right. You bring up the whole rights issue. And we were talking. We said we was going to talk about
mhm.
March being Women's
Yeah.
History Month,
Yeah.
um, and you brought up uh, the suffrage and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I found myself being excited because I started looking at African Americans and things like that that were involved with suffrage. And again, y'all, please chime in on the chat. Let me put the phone number up if somebody wants to call in. If you want to give a thought or an opinion, feel free to call in at 410-513-9499. We would love to talk to you, hear from you. I think I got the audio issue fixed where we'll be able to hear you through the phone. I know the last time I tried to do it through the phone, it didn't work, but we'll see how that goes. But at least put something in the chat as well. But I found myself getting excited because I started reading about names that I've forgotten about, and it just
Mhm.
reminded me that we need to
Yep.
continually be reminded
Exactly. Exactly.
about our history. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as I was reading, I just read through one article and I was like, man, I forgot about that. I
Yeah.
forgot about her
Ida B.
name.
Wells. Yeah, that she did that.
Yeah.
Out. Yeah. You
You,
know what? Oh, she was
you,
bold. We had some bold women back then. You know,
yeah.
fighting that stuff back then. They were fighting the power back then, and that.
You bring her up, and I just happened to get one of her quotes. 'Cause since we're talking about voting,
Oh, okay.
um, and she says, "With no sacredness of the ballot, there can be no sacredness of human life itself."
Hmm.
And when I started reading some of what these people were saying, you
Yeah, they were
know,
bold back then.
they were
Oh my God.
and very intelligent.
In this man's world. Oh, they were bold.
It's like extreme. They sound extremely intelligent, and too
Yeah.
often we're depicted like because it was slave times, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any education, or that we could
Yeah.
not be well spoken and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
And that was just an
she came
example
from
that I
that
pulled out. But
later.
Sojourner Truth. It was like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many that I was like, man, I forgot about that. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. You
Susan B.
know?
Anthony and all them, one thing that I was kind of reading up on some things. You just really saw America was really, white men had the power. Okay, the only way you could vote is if you were a white man and you owned property. Okay, so that's why they started putting the different amendments in. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery and all, but they had to put the 14th Amendment in, to grant citizenship to so that effectively black people could vote.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
then it was like they had to put the 15th Amendment because they had to say you can't be denied the vote, because when the 14th Amendment came in, they were still doing things to oppress. So they had to put the 15th Amendment in to say no, it's against the law to deny anybody the right to vote, any citizen. But they defined the 15th Amendment, 15th Amendment defined citizen as a male.
Mm.
So women were still not allowed to vote.
Right, right,
You
right.
know what I mean? And then it wasn't until they A bill was submitted in 1878 to give women the right to vote, but it didn't pass until 1920.
Yeah.
So it sat
Yeah.
there all that long time. And the 19th Amendment made it illegal to deny anybody the right to vote based on their sex. Okay. That was the 19th Amendment. And it took all that long time for it to get through. And I was just looking at some of the people, Susan B. Anthony. I remember her because of the coin. She
Right.
was the
Right.
first, with that Susan B. Anthony coin. But as I was thinking, and I kept thinking, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I had forgotten why she was on the coin. I remember, it was Susan B. But they did decades and decades of campaigning for women's rights, and Ida B. Wells, and she was from the South. And
Right.
anti-lynching, she was right. They were so ticked at her because of her writing about lynching and putting stuff out there about lynching and all. So they ran her out of the South. She had to move, and as the white supremacists and stuff, rose. And even though the 19th Amendment granted all persons, regardless of sex, the right to vote, they did stuff to still make it hard for Black people to vote. They started doing things like literacy tests,
Mm.
Different things like that. It was designed to discourage voting. They had things that said like, okay, if your ancestors didn't vote in the 1860s, which of course, they
You
didn't
didn't.
abolish slavery,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
couldn't. It was all kinds of. That's what they call them, grandfather clauses,
Mm-hmm.
and different
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and that made the 1964, the Civil Rights Act, important. That's why the Civil Rights Act was so important. So if people don't understand that, then they won't understand why it's important to have the Civil Rights Act. But I was just looking at some of the things that was done during that time, and just even why, even with some of the challenges that we have today. There was a lady, 1916, Margaret Sanger. She opened the first birth control clinic in the United States, okay, which is now Planned Parenthood.
Right.
They were making it illegal to, like try to control the number of children that you have. You know what I mean? It was just like people really had a problem with. They were coming up with all kinds of stuff, and it wasn't until 1960 where the FDA approved the first birth control pill. So with Planned Parenthood and all that stuff, and then 63, Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act. So because you had women that were working in the same job, but of course getting paid a lot less.
And that's
So
still happening.
why we had exactly, but you need this. And then what I learned with that, I looked at a research, because I'm a nerd when it comes to statistics and all.
Mm-hmm.
The wage gap, okay, is about still the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
still happening.
yeah, the wage gap. So we need to stay on top of this stuff, and to see this type of information and hear this type of information and all. And we don't have time to get all into it, but when Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, with all the turmoil that was going on in the nation and all, and in 73, Roe versus Wade, okay, and that whole thing that came down as far as protecting women's legal right, okay, it's about protecting women's legal right, okay, to abortion. When you understand the whole history of it and the whole history of trying to oppress
Mm-hmm.
the rights and all, and they understand, it gives you some perspective.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And even if you see now, like with all the the stuff going on today, after the ruling was overturned and all, and everybody that's kind of okay, they had clauses that automatically went through as soon as they pull a Roe v. Wade. This is you can't do
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go.
Mm-hmm.
And they were even started talking about, I don't know how true this is, but like how like there's an app for everything. So there are apps where women keep track of their menstrual cycles and all. They were
Oh
talking about,
yeah, I heard about that as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
they get access to that, and then so they scared that they might be able to track that. Okay, lady hasn't had her
Hmm.
period and all kinds of stuff, and so just even the right to privacy, and I started thinking about, what? Okay, America's over 200 years old. Um, it was Walter Mondale who had the first female nominated vice president.
Hmm.
Geraldine. It was 1984, and it wasn't until Kamala Harris
Yeah.
that, you know, okay.
But see, but what you're doing, and this is what I'm thinking about, is this is why it's important that we do understand the
Hmm.
history. You know what I mean? And again, it's not just and I'm not trying to hop on critical race theory, and it's not just because we're trying to make people feel bad, but to understand
Yeah,
how did we get here,
yeah,
and why did we have to take the route to get to where we're at?
hmm,
You know what I mean? That's what's critical. That's what's in danger of being lost.
hmm,
Because again, you can't rewrite history and
yeah,
all those things you brought up. Now, you and I have never had the conversation, I don't believe. Um, but like with the Roe versus Wade,
hmm,
I picked up on what you said. It's about a woman's right. The
hmm,
argument, for me anyway, the argument isn't about whether or not you should have an abortion or not.
hmm,
They use that as a catalyst,
yeah, yeah,
but really it came down to a women having a right
hmm.
to choose what they want to do with their
To
body.
choose, yeah,
You know
hmm,
what I mean? Now,
hmm,
I don't agree with abortion,
exactly,
you
hmm,
know, but I believe that they should have the right.
hmm,
Okay, I say it like this, and you know, I'm not big enough to be canceled, but sin is sin.
hmm,
Okay, and if I have a right to sin, whether it's I don't know, lying, cheating, whatever, that's my right,
hmm,
right? That's my right to choose that sin. Women have the same right to choose a different sin, and I
hmm.
don't have the right to judge. You know what I mean? So nobody should be judging me based on my mishaps.
And let me
And
tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'm with you right there. Sorry to cut you off, but
Mhm.
there's a whole lot of things that women can do by themselves, but getting pregnant ain't one of them.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so why is all the onus on, oh, you pregnant, it's your responsibility, you have to have this baby, you know what I mean? So
Well,
wait a minute, if you gonna make me have this baby, okay, then $5,000 a week or whatever, or something, you know
hmm,
what I mean?
hmm,
Okay,
hmm.
then make some other things happen so that, this baby. So I think they are just so phony about it. Okay, like, you care so much about the child, but once the child's here, okay, that, they got to fight to feed them and fight to,
Right, right.
but then you don't even want to take birth control to even not have a child,
Don't even
so
want to
it's just,
provide that.
you
So
know
really, they're trying to go the next step up. And I've said this on another broadcast. We need to be talking more about sex education and talking more to encourage people to abstain until they are in a position that they can have a child and they married and all that and in a relationship. I think we need to do more of that than anything else.
And there's so
Um,
much misinformation out there about even how to get pregnant. You'd be surprised at how many people think that, it's the first time, so I can't get pregnant.
mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
Education.
Or, if this, and if I do it this way, then I might not get pregnant. You know what I mean?
Hmm,
No,
hmm,
you gotta, if you do this, or you know what I mean? It's just
hmm.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But I didn't want to go on to the whole
I didn't
thing,
expect
but
that either. But I was
but
talking to, just for perspective, I was talking to a grown person, okay, that did not understand that babies grow in your uterus, not your stomach.
wow.
Hello.
Was this a
Okay.
male or a female?
It was a female.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wow.
So
I was
yes,
gonna I was gonna try to give a brother a
that was
pass,
a few
but
years. That was a few years ago. You
okay.
know, but
Wow.
the I started thinking about it as we were doing it. That we have come a long way in America. We've come a long way, and just the push, the fight. The fight for our rights. And I was just like, and back then they were bold because women, literally they was just like, like with schooling and all this, they were bold. And you know what came to my mind? Some of them other countries where, like, I just saw on the news this morning where at a girls' school in Iran, sorry if I say it, I
Mhm.
know it's Iran, that they were poisoning girls because they don't want them to learn. Some of those extreme situations. And I started looking at the 10 worst countries for women's rights. The 10th worst is Pakistan. They still have low levels of financial inclusion for women. Women there could still get just under 4 years of schooling, different things like that. The Central African Republic, they usually get 3 years of schooling. Somalia, most of these countries, a lot of them are in Africa.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the same thing with like, just 4 years of schooling. And a lot of them, they got to take care of the family. You know what I mean? So Sierra Leone,
Leon. Hmm.
yeah, and where the mortality rate, they said 1,100 out of 100,000 women will die due to complications of pregnancy
Mm, mm, mm.
or childbirth. Okay, um, and I mean some of the stuff where it's like, okay, um, female genitalia mutation or
Yeah,
mutilation. I said mutation, mutilation.
mutilation. Yeah.
That's still happening, and you just like, okay, this is 2023. Okay, and you still have people that think this way, towards women. Sudan, and they decriminalize. Okay, they call it FGM. The female genitalia mutilation. That's the nice way to say what they're doing.
Mm.
I guess but it's just amazing, amazing. Um, they repealed laws restricting, where women could go, where they could work. Chad, Congo, it was just like Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan, um, where girls aren't allowed to go to school. They generally don't stay in school more than 2 years.
Mm.
And it's just like with some of the places where, okay, even murdering women, okay, if you do something to dishonor your family, then they call them honor killings.
Mm.
Okay. So, I guess the boy can do whatever he want to do, but if the girl does it, they call them honor killings, and it's apparently widespread in some of these countries over there. Okay, where she will be murdered by uh, usually her own brother, husband, father, or other relative, regardless of even whether it's true.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we have come a long way here in the United
In the
States,
United States, compared to where
but
some people still are.
yes, yes, but in the the grand scheme and perspective, it's just like the oppression, how um, some are just so afraid that with women, if you start educating them, then they're gonna, that's why you start thinking about, that's why Americans like the beacon. They look at us over here like we got it made.
I don't know. I don't know if that's still with recent years. I don't know if that still holds true or as true. Maybe to some of those countries, sure, but I think with some of the more developed countries looking at us and they see us being in as just as much mess as them,
Oh
if
yeah,
not
yeah,
worse
yeah.
off.
Not saying we messed up, and
Hmm.
they know we messed up. I'm talking about in the like the third world countries.
Yeah,
They
they
when
still
they
see us
look
as the land of
at
opportunity.
some of the things where it was just like, yes, where we can work, and you don't have to be tied to a husband, and you can
Hmm.
make it on your own and all. So it's just like, and where in some of those countries where, you have to get married. Some of them they married by the time they 13. You know you you know you don't have a choice. You don't
Yeah.
have a choice. Yeah, exactly, intimidated. And that's why, and I when I thought about those that were fighting for those 70 years, they were bold back then. Okay. They
Yeah.
were some bold women to stand
Considering
up.
what we was going through or what
Oh,
they were
yeah.
going through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And even though they got it done, you still had issues where it was like, okay, it was still, especially down in the South, some places in the North, but especially in the South, where the oppression, where, like I said, you had the literacy test, and now they're doing stuff where you have to have a government issued ID, and then you come to find out, well, why is that a problem? Well, guess
Hmm.
what? In some of these poorer communities,
Still.
they don't have, like the DMV is in the next county somewhere. How they going to get
Hmm.
over there?
Yeah.
Some of them
They
don't
still
have
using that
cars.
stuff. They still using that same old stuff.
Some of them don't have cars, and they were doing things trying to make it illegal to give people water if they're standing in line, or you can't go get them and take them to the polling place, and all kinds of stuff. Where you can see the oppression. So it made me really understand why the Civil Rights Act was important. You know, um,
Hmm.
to me, I can get in my car and go drive the vote. No big deal.
Yeah.
Catch
Yeah.
an Uber or
Hmm.
whatever. But in some of these remote towns, and I've been to a few of them, I was like, we out of here before sunset. You
Hmm.
know, but it's just like they ain't got nothing over here. Whatever. They got to go all this long way over there just to be able. They're not going to get down there and go vote.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Especially if you make it, or there were intimidations, all kinds of intimidation factors going on, So yeah, it just really, that's the importance of understanding history and why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why certain things were put in place. It was important for these and the oppression and and um especially this whole, I know we already talked about this whole abortion issue. I said, I just said, you know what? With all the stuff we can do, that's one thing we can't do by ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely
if
right.
you want to hold me accountable, then somebody else needs to be held accountable too.
Right. Right. Well,
Hello, you know.
it goes right back to Adam and Eve. It's like Adam was like he tried to pass it off to Eve. It's like you gave me this woman. He tried to pass it off on God. Actually, like you the
Hmm.
one that gave it to me.
Hmm.
It's like it's her fault. You know,
Yeah.
and the same thing like when the men brought the woman before Christ, saying that she was caught sleeping with someone. It's like, all right,
Hello,
where
hello,
where's the man that she was
hello.
sleeping with?
There you go.
You know what I
Hello.
mean? It's like let's hold everybody accountable.
There you go.
Again, we could keep going back to let's not be selective
Yeah.
about our outrage.
Oh,
Let's make
we
everybody.
supposed to be so chaste. We got to hold ourselves. We ain't supposed to give it up. Well, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Me
Why don't
supposed
you
to take
hold
it.
yourself?
Yeah, yeah,
Why am
yeah.
I supposed to be the one that supposed to be so chaste?
Mm-hmm.
You
You're
know,
absolutely
why
right.
don't you put some onus over there?
Yeah.
Or we're not supposed to have any desires. You know what I mean? And you just start thinking about, even it was as growing up, like, oh, if you had some type of desire or you was some kind of way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But oh, wait a minute. Why don't you talk to him about that?
Mm-hmm. And
You
it's still
know,
a double standard.
yeah.
The fathers are proud about the sons,
Yeah.
but you want to keep the daughters hidden.
hmm
You know.
And she
Yeah.
can't go get birth control. Well, wait a minute. You know, but something's wrong. Well, you gonna make him get snipped? Then if you don't, we can't have it. Okay. Then if you don't want me to get birth control, then you get fit. Go get spayed or neutered.
Right. I wish I could disagree with you, but
You
I know too much, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It needs to be accountability all the way around. It needs to be accountability all the way around. Um, but I appreciate everything she brought as far as like the women's suffrage. I kind of started focusing on the Black history side of it because that's something else. You hear about the suffrage, and even when you see pictures and stuff like that, unless you start to dig real deep, you don't see us.
Yeah.
You see others. You know what I mean? And you don't hear enough about it. But even we talked about Harriet Tubman. Even Harriet Tubman was a part
Oh yeah.
of the suffrage revolution
Oh
and things
yeah.
like that. So
She was
we got to pay attention to
it takes
the
some courage now. It takes some courage to go. But also the reason, you can still see there was still a whole lot of separation going, or segregation and all going on during this time.
yeah
Even though we all fighting for rights, it was like, okay, they initially didn't support black women because you know what? I read that the only reason they supported women voting was because they thought it would suppress or balance out black people voting.
Yeah, I had read something similar
Yeah.
because initially Frederick Douglass
Mm-hmm.
initially wasn't for suffrage for the women right to
Right.
vote.
Right.
He was more so about let's get blacks able or
Mm-hmm.
black men to be
Right.
able to vote. That was his focus at first, but then after a while he realized if it ain't all of us,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, it
Yeah.
ain't going to be worth nothing. You know what I mean? Because after a while he realized he was like, you know what, we gotta bring all of us up here.
Yeah.
We can't just have just one side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's when he joined the fight as well. Yeah, I was reading the same thing. I was reading the same
Mhm.
thing.
Alice Walker. I saw this Alice Walker quote. When I doing all this stuff about all this voting, and Alice Walker says the most common way people give up their power is to think they don't have any.
Yeah,
And I started thinking about that when it comes to just the importance of voting and letting people all oppress you and do this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They want you to give up that power. They want you to be intimidated and scared so you don't do it. Thinking that you don't have any. So yeah, this was a nice little study for me.
yeah. I found myself getting excited because, like I said, I had forgotten um,
Hmm.
some of the names or why I even knew the names. And as I
Yeah,
started reading, I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it just reinforced the whole thought of we gotta keep bringing this stuff back up.
Yeah.
You know, for us, we heard about it, we knew about it, or for me, I forgot some of it. But there's younger generations ain't even never heard of them, don't
Hmm.
even know the significance of it. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so important.
Yeah,
I'll
even if
just
you just go back and look at, okay, what's in the 1965, 64 Civil Rights Act? Why did you even need it? You know what I mean? Like, we heard about it, but okay, all right, we know it was about black people and voting and giving. But why? What was going on that this was needed? You know, with
yeah,
all the oppression, where they had to specifically put stuff on the books to say you cannot discriminate. You cannot block people from voting based on their race, their color, their sex. They actually had to put this stuff in writing in the Constitution to make it illegal.
yeah,
Okay, why? Because of stuff that was going on.
yeah,
We
yeah,
had to put stuff on the books because of the oppression for women. Okay, to say no, you cannot discriminate based on somebody's sex.
yeah,
Okay, you had to get the Equal Pay Act. Why? Because if you were a man, you were gonna make more money, even if you were doing the same thing, even if you were
hmm,
qualified. Even if you got the same degree he got, you got the same experience he got. You know, and even if you just look at um, the CEOs around the world, go look at leadership charts at your job.
hmm.
Okay, and what are you gonna see?
Well,
I don't even know. I can probably tell you. I've never looked at your
I think
jobs.
it depends on your industry. I know in my industry, it's the other way around.
Okay,
It's more female than male. In
good,
fact,
good, good. Is it
in
HR?
in the industry, well, the segment that I serve in, um, it's only like 11% men.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So it depends on the segment. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
maybe because I'm tech,
yeah,
and from what I've looked
yeah,
through, when I looked around, like when I worked for the government years ago, that was one of the first things I saw that was back in the '80s when that was the late '80s, but they showed you like the chart, and it was just like, oh, one, two,
yeah,
three, four, five,
yeah.
level six, you finally see, person of color. You
Hmm,
know,
hmm,
level one, two, three is all men
hmm,
and all
hmm.
white men.
Well, I wasn't even talking about race. I was just talking about male versus female, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a whole nother discussion.
You know,
Um,
well, from I need to look at some different charts, because from ones I look, then it's just so, it reminded me so much of um, some of the things, like maybe 2 years ago, I took a class. It was a mandatory training class where it's called unconscious bias. And
Mm-hmm.
if you were in leadership, my company required us to take this unconscious bias class. If you did anything with hiring, if you interviewed people with hiring and
Right.
all,
Right.
because what they found was that you could have a person with the resume, and if they had like an ethnic name, even their qualifications the same, but whatever and all, then this person would always get hired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
make, you think about your unconscious bias and different things like that. And they put a picture up, and they just asked random questions of pictures. They had like 4 people, and they said, which one looks like the CEO of a company? Okay. And it was like 89% chose a tall white man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, they showed that, like, why? And it's, you know what? Because most of the CEOs of company are tall white men.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
That's
like,
how we associate things.
and just how, and it really made, me, start thinking about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even just making the conscious that, okay, one of the first things you see on the resume is a name. I don't want to see the name.
But that's why a lot of companies now they don't even submit their resumes with names anymore. They just
Right.
give you the qualification.
Exactly. And that's because of the awareness of unconscious bias and things like
Yeah.
that. They're trying to, combat some of that stuff,
Yeah.
and the diversity and inclusion and all, and different things like that. Why that's so important.
Yeah.
And why representation is so important. You need to hear another perspective.
Yeah.
You need other people in the room.
Yeah.
You
It's
know what I
not the big word. It's not just about diversity. It's about inclusion.
mean?
You can have diversity. You can have a
Yeah.
diverse work group, but
Yeah.
if they are not included in the
Mhm.
conversation,
Mhm.
okay, if they don't feel they're respected, if they
Mhm.
don't feel like their opinion matters and things like that, um, diversity is only going to carry you but so far. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm writing a class right now that talks about inclusion, diversity,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Equity thing, all that. It has to be more than just that one thing. And
Yeah.
too many companies have gotten into that trap of, well, if I hire diverse looking people, I'm okay. But
Yeah.
no, if you're not inclusive as well,
Yeah.
you still gonna be stuck.
Yeah.
You're still gonna
And,
be
and
stuck.
and and part of it is humbling, because you have to recognize and acknowledge that you don't know everything. Even your opinions are formed by your experience.
Hmm.
My opinions are formed by my experience.
Yeah,
So I make decisions based off of my past experiences and how I see things, how I view things. But when you're making the decisions for other people, okay, I can't just go by mine, because I don't know everything.
yeah, yeah,
You need other people to weigh in and chime in. Okay, yeah, I never thought about it like that, or
yeah,
how that's going to impact, this person, and how is that received, and all that. You have to be open to things like that.
yeah. I know I've made it a habit um, to, if I disagree, I disagree. I try
Yeah.
and I let them know. Well, I disagree. This is why I disagree.
Hmm.
But tell me, why do you see it the way that you see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I need to understand why you see it the way you see it.
Hmm.
And I'll say, okay, I can see that point of view.
And sometimes it can.
Can we do this?
Hmm.
Other times I'm like, I see your point of view, but I still think that this is the right course to take.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
But I've had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
You can't just be dogmatic and be like, it's my way or
Exactly.
the highway. That don't work
Exactly.
no more, especially with the
Exactly.
younger generation. You
Yeah.
know, so I've learned to say, okay, this is what I believe. This is why I believe. Because I don't just say I believe this and that's it. I say this is why I believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think this is why I think this is what we should do. And then I
Hmm.
say, but tell me your side. Let me
Hmm.
help me understand why you're thinking the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
And I honestly listened, and I was like, okay. And I'm
Hmm.
just saying this just recently. I was like, all right, I could see that point of view. I
Hmm.
understand that. Let's find a middle ground.
Hmm.
Let's find
Exactly.
something in the middle for us to work
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
That's called collaboration. Let's do that. where we can get to the best possible result.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Even if you don't, yeah, that's a growth. That's again, that's somebody you can work with. That's growth. That's humbling. You know what I mean? Where like, oh no, it's my way or the highway.
that
And
don't work
just
no more.
yeah, and
That don't
especially
work no more.
when you have to be, you don't have to agree with everything. I don't have to identify with
Mm-mm.
everything, but you need empathy. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
it's so important to be
take the
able
time
to.
to hear their
Yeah,
side. You
yeah.
know,
No,
that's
and
inclusion.
empathize with people. I don't want a manager who lacks empathy. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody leading people who lacks empathy. You're in a bad place. That's the what's the Putin territory. You know what I mean?
Mm,
When you
mm.
lack empathy, it's just you just so rigid, and anybody
You're a
that don't
dictator.
agree with you, yeah, anybody that don't agree with you, then and that other dude over here, to grab him by the Putin guy, like, oh, you don't agree with him, he just goes off. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
He ain't trying to
yeah.
hear nothing, nobody else's side. He know everything. I alone can fix it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know everything. You don't need nobody. You fire everybody. I don't need nobody. I do it all myself. I make all this. I fix it myself. Just the arrogance of it. That's a dangerous leader.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to give people like that power.
And I'm glad you said, as we close this out. Um, this is why it's so important that we vote. This is why it's so
Oh yeah.
one we it's so important we keep bringing some things up, that we understand the history and why things have taken place and why we're at where we're at. But it's really, this is why it's so important that we vote. And I want y'all
Yeah.
to know, um, it's our responsibility to have or to vote in the right people.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we've thrown out some names. Um, Funny, we throw out the names of people that we don't necessarily like. We might need to start talking about people that we do like and who we do line up with. But
Well.
um, I was thinking, and you know me, I'm always going to try to find something biblical, a biblical
Mhm.
perception or perceptive. That's not the word I'm looking for. A biblical approach. That's not the
Mhm.
word I was looking for, but good enough. And what the Word of God says. And I was thinking about Moses and things like that. And just for y'all to think about for a second, because I want y'all to know that we are supposed to vote. We are supposed to take part in who we choose to be our leaders. Okay, and I really, there's many people out there, especially of color, who still say our vote don't matter, and our
Yeah.
vote does matter.
Yes. Yes.
Our vote does matter.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have a responsibility. But here's what it says in Deuteronomy. It says, and this is what Moses is saying. He says, "How can I alone bear your problems and your burdens and your complaints?" So
Mhm.
we know there's a whole lot of issues. They had issues back then. We got issues right now. So here was the solution. Part of it came from his father-in-law, and he's just kind of recounting it. But here's the
Mhm.
solution. He says, "Choose wise, understanding, and knowledgeable men from among your tribes, and I will make them heads over you." We are supposed to
Yeah.
choose wise,
Yeah.
understanding, knowledgeable,
Mhm.
and, even though it's not written here, righteous people. I won't say men
Mhm.
because we're beyond men at this point, right? But we supposed to be choosing these people as our leaders, as our rulers. Okay.
One thing with that, Mark, though, one thing that I guess I'll say concerns me with that in the 2016 election, why a lot of people stayed home was because they said they didn't like her. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They didn't like her. And from my perspective, you don't have to like her. You see that right there?
Hmm.
Okay. It can't be that. You know,
Right.
I can give you this past election for Maryland governor. Okay. You had two candidates.
Yeah.
One was a super Putin guy. I know
Hmm.
I ain't vote. You see what I'm saying? So I ain't have to know. I knew back in March who was going to be governor
Yeah. Yeah.
because I said definitely ain't voting for this one.
Because, and again,
So
it's
you
because
ain't
you
in
got to
that
listen
race.
to
You
what
know,
they represent.
you don't even have to or hold them to so super standard like, oh, he got to be so righteous, or he got to be, oh wait, I got to like everything about you. Don't like everything about nobody.
Nope.
You know, you look at the options that you're given, you hold your nose and you vote.
Hmm.
Okay? Because 2016 showed us what happens when you stay home.
Yeah. You're
You see
absolutely
what
right.
happened?
You're
Okay?
absolutely
If
right.
you stay home, and when I mean, I'll never forget. When I looked, again, me being a stats person, I looked at the numbers because I was saying, ain't no way. How in the world with Pennsylvania, when you got Philadelphia and all that, how in the world he win Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
how did he win, Michigan with, you got Detroit? You know what I mean? I looked at the numbers. A whole lot of people didn't vote.
Yeah.
And when you look at the demographic, a whole lot of people stay home. But you see what happened? They got their butts out next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Once you understood, this is the consequence. You ain't got to like everything.
And you'll never. I say it all the time. You'll never find anybody that you're going to agree with
There
100%.
you go. There you go.
Never.
And
Never.
maybe I shouldn't say this, but I said, okay, well, what we had, and they kept talking about, oh, Joe Biden's so old. I said, you can find him in the middle of the street sucking his thumb, and I'm voting for him because I definitely ain't voting for that. You see what I'm saying? It was like
Well,
you ain't got to like everything. You know what I mean?
uh,
It's like,
I'm just going to be honest.
uh,
I got my concerns with the age. I really do.
okay.
I'm
Well,
waiting to
what's the
see if there's
alternative?
going to be
What's your
another
choice?
candidate. I'm
What's
waiting
your
to see if there's
choice?
gonna,
What's the
right
choice?
now, I don't have another choice because I haven't heard anything else.
Yeah,
But in
but
all honesty,
this
if I
was
hear
the
someone
choice,
else that
though.
has a compelling argument,
I hear you. I
then
hear
I
you.
will consider.
But what were our choices back
But if
in
it comes down
2020?
between
What were the choices?
Biden and DeSantis, I'm gonna go Biden because I already know what DeSantis represents.
You
You
know?
know what I mean? I'm gonna go with the person
Mm-hmm.
who most lines up with what I believe to
Mm-hmm.
be right.
There you go. And,
You know what I
you ain't
mean?
gotta like everything. It ain't gonna be all perfect, but I know that ain't gonna fly.
But in
You
all
know what
honesty, I am concerned about Biden's age.
I mean? Of
I am
course,
concerned
of
about it.
course.
You
Yeah.
know, and if there's another candidate, I'm just being honest. If there's another candidate that shows me that they are going to continue to take this country in the right direction,
Well, with the
I'm going to
way
consider it.
I just with the way politics works in this country, the Democratic Party, and just for the record, I'm unaffiliated, so I can't vote in primaries. Um, and I've also rethought that, but I stay unaffiliated. But the Democratic Party, they're not going to replace an incumbent president. You know what I mean? Biden will have to make a decision that he's not going to run. If
And
he
that's what I'm saying. And you're
is
absolutely right.
not going
It'll
to,
be up to him. It'll
the
be up to
same
him.
way like with the Republican Party, if you have an incumbent, they are not going to um, like replace him. You see, dude, with all the stuff that came out with dude, and they still put him up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you wonder why,
But
and
again, you know, he still hasn't. Biden hasn't come out officially said I'm running
right,
again.
right, yeah,
And he may
he's done
decide to step aside, and then who's up? Kamala.
exactly,
You know what I
but
mean?
you
And
know,
then somebody else may come about because of that. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm waiting on. I'm just waiting to see, because I do have my concerns.
I
Because if
get it,
something were to
yeah.
happen with him while he's in office, I think it could throw us into even deeper turmoil than where we're at right now.
Oh,
So
it's not easy. It's not easy. But yeah, politics in America, it matters who has the power, and not only the presidency, but now we get to even see how our congressmen are, how much power they have, and how it's important to put competent people that understand the Constitution and understand history, so we don't make the same mistakes. I
yeah,
think they were
yeah.
talking about an elderly test. Maybe they need to make a competency test if you in Congress. Make them go through training, make them understand the Civil Rights Act and why it was put in place. Make them
Or just
understand.
simple ethics. I don't think
Yeah,
half of them don't know what ethics are. You know,
you
it's
know,
it's just about getting the power. But you know what? This could be another topic for another night.
yeah,
This could be another topic for another night. We
we
still
did,
got some time before election comes about, but
yeah.
um, I appreciate the conversation. I pray that everybody else appreciates the conversation. As always, I'll say please make sure you share the conversation. And I was hoping to have a little bit more input from y'all. Some of y'all chimed in, but um, give us some input about what you think. If you have some topics that you would like to have covered, uh, or some questions that you want us to talk about or answer, Michelle and I would love to hear about it. Put it in the comments or direct message me or her. Um, would love to have you a part of the conversation, not just hear us jab back and forth for an hour. Because it's really, again, want y'all to be a part of the conversation as well and hear your input. Because again, we both like to collaborate and we both like to, you know, bounce things around a little bit. So I really appreciate y'all again coming back this Monday. We'll be back next Monday as well. What's next Monday? No. We got some time before Easter. So
Oh yeah, yes.
come on back next week. If you have not liked the page, again, please like the page. And hey, y'all, I'm still looking for a friend.
Oh, you ain't get that other friend yet.
I ain't get that. Well, I got a couple of friend invites, but I'm not always sure if
If
they
they're real.
real. You know what I mean? So I kind of watch the pages be like accept friends invites. I got like 5 invites, but if
Okay.
I go to their page and I don't actually see like any posts or any
Mm.
activity on their page, I don't accept it. So I need some real people to like my page. Okay. So tell a friend, tell a relative, tell them to like me on my personal page, not just the keep it real page, but on my personal page. All
Yes,
right.
he can get
Um,
that number off.
we gotta get that number off my page.
Yeah.
I don't want no marks on my page. All right. Again, know that I love y'all. Um, I'm sure Michelle would say she loves y'all too.
Yeah.
But as always, know that Christ loved you best and he proved it by going to the cross. And if you don't know that one, let us know. And we'll be happy to talk to you about that.
Mm.
Okay. It's the most important conversation that you will ever have.
Most
All right.
important.
So thank you again, Michelle.
Okay.
Um, we'll get together again sometime this week, talk about what's coming up. And again, y'all, seriously, if y'all got questions, if y'all have anything that you want to have a conversation about, let us know. We'll be happy to include it next time. All right. Until then, y'all be blessed. I just clicked off the wrong thing. Y'all be blessed, and we'll see you next Monday at
Have
7.
a good week.